I'm sorry, one moment.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning,
Hold on one second. We have an echo. I call the full commission meeting to order, the June 21st, 2023 full commission meeting. First item is a roll call. Mr. Adams, if you could do the roll call.
Chair Shapiro.
Here.
Commissioner Bailey.
Present.
Commissioner Dorner.
Here.
Commissioner Giraldo.
Here.
Vice Chair Harris.
Present.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Here.
Commissioner Linden.
Here.
Commissioner Pedoween.
Here.
Bartley and Washington are checked as absent, so that is 8 out of 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. First items on our agenda, I would look for a motion to approve both the commission agenda and the commission minutes from the open session on May 17, 2023. Is there a motion for these items?
So move.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Giraldo, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Mr. Adams, can you call the roll?
Chair Shapiro.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner.
Aye.
Commissioner Giraldo. From Montgomery, Vice Chair Harris.
Do I have to abstain since I wasn't here for the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I abstain.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Linden would abstain.
I believe I'll abstain as well, yes.
And Commissioner Pedoween.
Yes, aye.
Thank you. That is 6, 4, 2 abstaining, 2 absent. Motion passes.
Thank you. Brief general announcements, National Caribbean American Heritage Month. Also, we have a LGBTQ plus Pride Month, and I believe there's even an event in this room later today. Is that correct, Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, good. And there's more to read about these in your packet as well, lots of activities. Next item on our agenda, we have committee minutes, board reports. This is for information only. If there's no questions about this, we have the Employees Retirement Association Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes. No questions about that. We will move on to our action items. First action item is Resolution 2313. This is the adoption of the FY24 Commission operating and capital budgets. We have a, dare I say, a special guest, a surprise guest, Mr. Kroll. Good to see you.
Good morning, and thank you for that. You have been on circle page 15 of your packet, my staff report listing the differences between the proposed budget and the budget before you for adoption that has been adopted by the Prince George's and Montgomery County Councils already. This is the final step in the adoption process for the fiscal year 24 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Commissioners, any questions or comments or consideration, any issues at all related to the budget that anyone wants to bring up? If not, I would look for a motion.
Move approval. Move approval.
Second. Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Giraldo. I believe the second was Commissioner Dorner. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, Mr. Adams, could you please call the roll?
Chair Shapiro.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo,
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Linden,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway.
Aye.
8-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Next, second of our three action items on our action presentation items is Resolution 22-44, approval of the fiscal year 24 employer contribution for retirement group health insurance. Mr. Cohen? You're not, can we hear him?
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the Commission. For the record, I'm Gavin Cohen. I'm the Secretary, Treasurer, and I serve as Head of the Department of Finance. The item before you this morning on Circle 41 is a resolution for the employer contribution to the Commission's trust fund. The Commission has a separate trust where it provides, the sole purpose is to accumulate money to provide benefits to retirees. We're talking health benefits for our retirees. The amount that's being recommended was calculated by the trust actuary, and I should mention that Chair Giraldo serves as the chair of the Board of Trustees for the trust. Thank you, Chair Giraldo. So we're looking to approve $8,556,000 as the fiscal year 24 contribution to the trust. Thank you very much. That concludes my staff report, and we would recommend approval of the attached resolution for fiscal year 2024. Thank you.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Giraldo, a second by Commissioner Hedrick. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Mr. Adams, could you call the roll, please?
Chair Shapiro,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo,
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Harris,
Vote aye.
Commissioner Hedrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Linden,
Aye.
Commissioner Pettaway.
Aye.
8-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Cohen, and thank you, Commissioner Giraldo, for your leadership. Next item, item 5C, this is amendments to practice 2-26, procedures 9601. This is controlled substances and alcohol-free workplace policy. We have Ms. Harvin, Mr. Beckham. We have Ms. Harvin and Ms. Harvin.
Good morning. For the record, Tracy Harvin, Corporate Policy and Management Operations Director. And with me, I have Wanda Wesley Major. She is our Risk and Safety Chief.
Good to see you.
We are before you today to ask for your approval to amendments to Practice 226. This is the practice that sets out the Commission's policy on controlled substance and an alcohol-free workplace. And so what the amendments we have before you will do is it will provide the conditions under which alcohol is permitted on Commission property and when employees on duty may consume alcohol. It is also updated to encapsulate changes regarding the use of cannabis. First, alcohol. With regard to alcohol, the practice is being updated to reflect that alcohol consumption is only permitted on Commission property or in Commission vehicles when it's authorized in writing by the respective planning board chair or department head, and it's only for an authorized Commission function. For employees who may not be on Commission property but are still on duty, the use of alcohol is authorized again when it is permitted expressly in writing by the respective department head or the planning board chair. And again, it has to be in conjunction with official Commission business. Now, with regard to cannabis, in light of the existing medical use of cannabis and the forthcoming July 1 legalization of its recreational use, we have also incorporated amendments to the practice to address the treatment of cannabis. which is largely determined based on the classification of an employee's job duties as either safety sensitive or non-safety sensitive. So, for example, non-safety sensitive positions. With these employees, medical use of cannabis will be treated the same as any other prescription drug. However, employees are still prohibited from coming to work impaired. They still must be able to perform the functions of their job. Okay? And with regard to recreational use, employees must not allow such use to interfere with the performance of their job duties. The practice is also being updated to reflect that individuals in non-safety sensitive positions will not be subject to discipline for a positive test solely based on the test. Okay? And the reason for this is simply because current testing, current science cannot determine whether a person is actually impaired, although cannabis may be detected in their system. So for example, if you compare this to alcohol, whereas a blood alcohol level of 0.8% has been shown to have a correlation with impairment, such a correlation is not available at this time for cannabis use. If the science changes, since so many states are now legalizing its recreational use, I would imagine that there will be more and more scientific inquiry into impairment. So if the science does change, we will certainly pivot and update things accordingly. This consideration, however, is not available for employees who encumber safety-sensitive positions. For example, safety-sensitive positions are those positions where an employee is responsible for his or others' safety. And the performance of their duties would be particularly dangerous if they are performed under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Such positions are also constrained by federal laws and regulations. So for example, CDL holders. Those guidelines are, and regulations prohibit CDL drivers, for example, from using marijuana. Marijuana is still considered a Schedule I drug, although the state of Maryland has legalized it. For the federal government, it is still Schedule I and thus prohibited. So for example, other Schedule I drugs are things like heroin, LSD, et cetera. So in time, that may change, but as of today, the federal government has not made these changes. Thus, it is still prohibited. Schedule I drugs are also those that are considered by the feds to have a high potential for abuse, and no accepted medical use exists. Again, this is according to the federal government, and as we know, the state of Maryland differs in that regard. And since safety-sensitive jobs also include jobs, again, that are particularly dangerous if performed under the influence of drugs, jobs such as tree climber and heavy equipment operators are also included under the rubric of safety-sensitive positions. The Corporate Policy Office and Risk Management, we have been working with the departments to determine and review the positions that we classify as safety-sensitive or non-safety sensitive. And the recreational use, I would like to add, here in Maryland represents uncharted territory for all government employers. And risk management and corporate policy, we will continue to stay abreast of any legislative changes, any other changes that may warrant future changes to our practice in how we manage operations. So I'm asking for your approval to the amendments to Practice 225. I am happy to address any questions you have, as is our Risk and Safety Chief, who's here today.
So I have a question.
Thank you, Ms. Harvin. Question, Commissioner Pettaween?
I just want to get clear.
Commissioner, one sec. Okay, I just want to make sure that technology, there we go. We're good to go. Take it away, Ms. Pettaween. Commissioner.
In regard to alcohol consumption, so if there is a park function over the weekend and they are serving beer, okay, it's alcohol, and I attend or government employee attend, can we drink it? Is it an issue? Because, or do we need to have a permission? I didn't understand exactly what is the process. If either a commissioner or, a commission employee is at a function that they serve a beer and it is in commission property.
Yes, Commissioner Pettaway, if it is a function on commission property, then the department head or that planning board chair needs to provide that permission in writing, stating that, A, this function can occur, pardon me, and also that the employees who are attending may consume alcohol at the function. However, the consumption of alcohol does not provide, of course, license to become inebriated. But yes, in light of it being a commission function that's sponsored, once that department head and/or chair provides that permission, then consumption is permitted.
So if I go to a beer garden for Parks Department, that they are being advertised all the time, I need to ask for a permission to drink, or I just cannot drink? I'm not still clear how I get my permission because I want to attend, and I may not even attend as a commissioner. I may just attend because I like it, and but I'm a commission employee at this point. Can I drink, or do I need to get the permission from Artie to let me drink? I don't think I can get the permission if I'm just on the fly decide that I'm going to go and have fun.
If you are attending an event in the beer garden you mentioned, is that on commission property or
Yes.
off commission property?
No, commission property.
Okay, well, if you are attending in your personal capacity, you can consume the beer. However, the license for that alcohol to be served, the permission for that alcohol to be served at that function would have to be provided by Artie or the department head.
No, I understand for the license. I'm just understanding that people that like, when they have beer garden, park department staff attending there, do they need to have permission to drink or they're not allowed to drink? Is it something that could be asked under the license as overall that employees can drink when the license is given, or is it that every employee should ask? Maybe we could just make it as part of the license that employee can have fun also. I don't know.
Yes, Commissioner, as a practical matter, when the commission is holding a function, and the department head is providing permission for alcohol to be served, and B, the department head understands that employees will be attending,
Yeah.
that permission should be expressly stated by the department head, just as a practical matter in the same document. That would pretty much cover
Okay.
it.
Okay, that's good. So as long as I don't have to get the permission, I'm fine. If I have to get the permission, I do, or I decide that it's too late and I don't go. So,
So,
okay, thanks.
enjoy.
Thank you. Before we move on, is there a way to resolve this technology issue? I don't see us on the screen anymore, and we have the lighting issue. Okay. Okay. Okay.
They might turn back on, I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you. Are there other questions for staff as we figure out this new territory related to?
Commissioner Dorner has his hand up.
Oh, Commissioner Dorner, take it away.
Yeah, so normally I wouldn't really micromanage these kinds of things, but given that we had an actual issue with this, and that's why we're revising the policy, I think it's useful to walk through just kind of like a scenario where things get out of hand, and where there might be sort of inappropriate activity stemming from the top up, or I guess from the top down, I should say. The two bullets that are in the policy that are being revised on the consumption of alcohol being permitted that are also mentioned in the memo, it's not clear to me where the buck stops, basically. because there's an ability for either the department head or the planning board chair to approve in writing. But if that department head or the planning board chair are the ones who are actually consuming it and are hosting the event, like where is the accountability necessarily? Because I would hope that at this level we would have such accountability, but we didn't in the past, and that's why we're in this certain situation. So I don't know if it's enough to say that just the department head could approve it. If somebody above that person is not accountable or is not approving it and who's not attending. I'm just worried about we're not solving anything by how it's written right now. Like, I understand that we're putting more in writing regarding alcohol and cannabis usage, but we're not actually resolving the situation that we had that resulted in the new board members who are here with us from Montgomery County. So I just want to put that on the out there for thought, that we're not actually fixing the problem that happened.
I think Mr. Harris.
Yeah,
Vice Chair Harris, you have
yeah,
a comment on this?
I'm new to this issue, but what was the problem that happened?
Straight from the top, we had the head of Montgomery County serving alcohol to employees on commission property. And there's no accountability in the current policy, how it's been rewritten to prevent that. And if somebody else were to do it, like a department chair or whatever, and not tell the head of the planning board, there's also still no accountability on that level. Like, I would hope that at the top level, at that high of a position, like there would be professional understanding and judgment, but that lapsed for a very long period during COVID, repeatedly.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me ask our General Counsel, Ms. Borden, to weigh in on this too. Take it away.
Thank you. Deborah Borden, General Counsel. I think all of the comments are really great and really showcase the difficulty of writing this amended policy. So to address Commissioner Pedoeem's concern, I think there was a little confusion about what Commissioner Pedoeem was talking about. Parks departments have a permitting system where they permit private events, other people, third parties coming into our parks and having events. Sometimes those events include the serving of alcohol or either serving or sale of alcohol. And those that do need to have special permission to do so. And the special permission must come from either a department head, according to our new amendment, either a department head or a chair. And it has to be in writing and it has to be specific as to what is allowed. So with the permitted events, that was already sort of in place because you had to get a special permit for the alcohol in addition to your permit for your event. When you're talking about employees then coming to those events that may be open generally to the public, and they're members of the public, not just our employees, as long as they're not working and they're not on duty, absolutely, they can go to an event that is permitted, that has a permit for alcohol, and they can imbibe and they can have fun, and there's no problem with that. Just because there are employees doesn't mean that they suddenly have less rights than anyone else, any other member of the public to come to an event and enjoy themselves as long as they do so responsibly and they follow all laws and regulations. So I think that's in one bucket. And then that really hasn't changed. That was always the case, it would always be the case, and we couldn't make it otherwise because we wouldn't have the authority to take that away from our employees. When you're not working with us, telling them that they can't drink. We can't really do that. The other bucket is for the sort of the executive level of our agency and wanting to have some checks and balances on that executive level when they do things that, if an employee did them, would be against the merit rules. That is more challenging. There's no question about that. But what we've tried to do is to say that these approvals of alcohol have to be tied to an event and they have to be approved in writing. There has to be a paper trail. It's not perfect. It's not maybe ideal, but it's something in addition to what we had before, which was nothing. And so we could see how this goes, and we could see if there are other things that we could do to address some of the things that we see as shortcomings because of what happened, because of our previous experience. But this is our first step to try to address some of those issues. Also, I'm sorry, the issue of obviously operating our vehicles or operating any machinery that belongs to the commission. Obviously, you cannot drink when you're, operating a vehicle or when you're operating any of our commission machinery. So that has not changed. That was always the case as well.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borden. Commissioner Dorner, good for you?
Yeah, just to one extent further, should we put something in the policy that refers to kind of like the host of the event or like whoever would be in charge of it? So that way, if it was a department chair that was hosting it, then it would have to go to the planning board chair to get approval. Or if it's the planning board chair who's hosting an event, maybe what we could do is, as much as we don't like to step on each other's toes across the counties, is we could actually ask those still the planning board chair from the other county to approve if the planning board chair from a particular county is hosting an event. And then that might offer some checks and balances that we didn't have existing before.
Let me suggest that we ask staff to continue to noodle over this and come up with recommendations for us, because I don't want us to make a decision like this on the fly. I hear you loud and clear, though, that there's still some unresolved issues around this. But I do think it's a work in progress. It feels like this is a helpful next step, but I hear you, Commissioner Dorner, that there may be more work to do as well.
Yeah, I just think if we're going to be putting a policy in place that's going to restrict our staff and our employees, the family of the commission, we should put ourselves in the same position.
Yeah,
I don't think we should be in a different position.
Agreed. Okay, Commissioner Linden.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to quickly follow up on Commissioner Pedoweem's comment a little bit about process and maybe just one quick clarification about a definition. So the idea of on duty versus off duty, I'm just curious, for the sake of clarity for employees, is this a time-based definition where if it's after kind of typical work hours that would be considered off duty? Is it more of a place-based definition where if you're outside of the office or workspace? That was the only kind of point of clarification that I was hoping to talk about here. But if it's obvious to others, then
let's get an answer for you, Commissioner Linden.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah, appreciate that. Let's turn to Ms. Harvin, see if she's an answer for you, or Ms. Borden.
For employees who are in a work status of, basically if they're getting paid, then they are on duty. So just to provide an example, if you have an employee who, let's say they typically work from 8 to 4:30, and they are attending an afternoon event, even if it's hosted by their own department, and there is alcohol that's being served, and they choose to partake, they are on duty. So if, again, with that same employee, if it's an event on a Saturday evening, and they are, although they are commissioned employees, they are attending in their personal capacity as just residents out to have a good time, then no, then they would not be on duty. So the linchpin here for most employees is whether or not they are being paid during the time they are attending.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that helps clarify it. I don't know if it'd be worth kind of adding that specific language or clarification in the actual document. Maybe this definition is already clear as you described, and folks understand what it means. But that makes sense as you described it to me. So thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Linden. I think it would be helpful to clarify. At least it gets a lot of people off the hook. That if they're looking for some issues, they find something. So that makes it clear that who is allowed and not to allowed. And also in regard to Commissioner Donor, Parks Department does a lot of events that we were working on to have beer. I think it should be left at the Parks Director level and not come to that's my opinion, that if they're gonna have beer or wine, and I have seen a lot of beers, they should be able easily to get the approval from the director and go on with it. I do not know if right now they're asking for chair permission. I don't remember when I was there, but we should just not make it more difficult for them to hold their events.
Okay, any other questions, comments? If there are none, let's all agree that this is a work in progress. This is new.
All right.
There'll be lots of moving parts as we go along. We will figure this out, but I feel like I appreciate staff's work on this, and I think this is a really good next step. So if there's no other issues or questions, then I would look for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Giraldo, a second by Commissioner Hedrick. Any further discussion on the motion? No further discussion. Mr. Adams, please call the roll.
Chair Shapiro?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Bailey?
Vote aye.
Commissioner Dorner?
But aye.
Commissioner Giraldo?
Vote aye.
And Montgomery? Vice Chair Harris?
Aye.
Commissioner Hedrick?
Aye.
Commissioner Linden?
Aye.
Commissioner Pettawin?
Aye.
8-0, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Those are it for our action items. We have 3 additional presentation items for our agenda. First is an update on the COVID-19 mandate rollback plan. I'll turn to our Executive Director, Ms. Chang Smith.
Thank you very much. Actually, if I could ask Ms. Harvin and Ms. Wesley Majors to stay up, just in case there's some questions, because they had worked on this. So on May 11th of this year, the federal government ended the COVID-19 national public health emergency after the World Health Organization announced that COVID-19 is no longer a global health emergency. So in light of that, we are requesting that the commission repeal its requirement for employees to be vaccinated. And we want to rescind the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for all employees, the new hires, and also for our volunteers. We have provided a question and answer sheet for like FAQ that has been provided in the packet. And we just wanted to get your approval, or, we've gotten some comments back. There was one comment about the time frame of holding on to the records of the vaccinations for 30 years. That is a National Archives requirement, but we are working with legal and HR to see if we can amend that at some point, and we will get back to you on that to see if we can shorten that time frame. So staff are working on that, but I think most of the other questions or comments from the commissioners have been answered. And I just wanted to also thank Tracy and Chief Wanda Wesley Majors and her team for tracking, day by day, having a 24/7 line available for all of our employees to gather information on what to do if they have COVID or suspect they have COVID. They have been tracking daily, monthly since 2020, just to make sure that we are safe and that our facilities are safe. And I just wanted to thank them for all their extra effort and help during the pandemic.
Thank you, Ms. Chang Smith. Before we go on, there's some technical issues. I just want to make sure we're resolved. I have a couple commissioners are having trouble hearing us. Commissioner Linden, Commissioner Hedrick, is it resolved, or are you still having trouble hearing us? Good. Okay.
It's good. It resolved toward the end. Yeah, I got it.
Good. All right, we're good to go. So there may be questions for Ms. Chang-Smith or for staff on this. I just want to clarify, this is not an action item, right? This is just an update for us, for our information?
Yes.
Okay. So any questions? You've heard the update from Ms. Chang-Smith. Any other questions or concerns? Anything else any commissioners want to bring up? Don't see any. Thank you, Ms. Chang-Smith, and appreciate all the hard work of staff for many, many years working us through this crazy times in this crisis. And, you know, dare I say, it's nice to be a little bit on the other end of it, not that we're not mindful that COVID is still out there, but the global pandemic piece of this is past, so thank you. Okay, next item, presentation item, we have an update from staff on Pride Month and Pride Month activities, LGBTQ plus Heritage Initiative. Is staff presentation on this item?
So I will start. Tanya Stern, Acting Planning Director, Montgomery County Planning Department, and I am joined by Rebecca Ballo, who is the Historic Preservation Supervisor at Montgomery Planning, who will be giving a presentation. We appreciate this opportunity to share with the commissioners our department's efforts to support highlighting LGBTQ history in Montgomery County, and I wanted to share some information and resources that we have been working on to support. So with that, I will turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you, Director Stern. Good morning, Chair Shapiro and members of the Commission. Thank you for having me here this morning for this briefing. So I hope that all of you have at your seats this wonderful document. I'm so pleased to present this to you this morning, and I'm going to give you a brief background about how we got here. For our members that are joining us virtually, we will be getting these to you in your offices, working with the Executive Director and the staff. So again, good morning. My name is Rebecca Ballo. I'm the Supervisor in the Historic Preservation Section for Montgomery Planning, and I'm here to talk about the department's and the state of Maryland's LGBTQ heritage initiatives. So I gave a version of this presentation last year for Pride Month, and whenever we take this show on the road, we always start with the M-NCPPC statement, our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this effort, studying, researching, and celebrating LGBTQ heritage is part of the Commission's overall efforts in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Just one moment. Rebecca, your slides aren't showing, so we're going to make sure those are showing. Great.
Thank you.
Good catch. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, these are just excerpts from the M-NCPPC statement. So to start with the big picture, LGBTQ heritage in America, and how this project that we have completed here in Montgomery County, this initiative that we are still working on, builds on the work that our colleagues at the federal level and at the state level and in other localities across the country have been working on for many years. To begin, LGBTQ heritage and the perspectives of LGBTQ Marylanders are underrepresented in the state's historical narrative. My office in Historic Preservation, as well as our colleagues in the Prince George's County Historic Preservation Office, a lot of what we do is support research to list properties to the National Register of Historic Places, and we also list properties locally on our master plan for historic preservation. Of the 96,000 some odd properties that are listed in the National Register, only 28 of those to date are listed specifically for LGBTQ heritage. It has been a priority of the National Park Service and of historic preservation offices across the country to undertake this research and to list properties for this theme. So Maryland, it should be no surprise to those of you here, Maryland is associated with many pioneering LGBTQ political leaders, legal advocates, artists, and activists that fought employment discrimination and government inaction amidst the AIDS crisis, and in many other important times during the last 50, 60 years. So to start, the LGBTQ America National Park Service theme study was released in 2016. So the Park Service undertook this study to create what we call the thematic umbrella to help those of us working at the state and local level understand this theme and how we could go about documenting resources under this theme. When the study was released in 2016, the Park Service convened a roundtable of historians in the DC metro region to talk about what sites in our localities might fit under this theme, what support we needed from the feds and from each other to start undertaking this research. So that effort and that conversation at the national level then led to these efforts that we were proud to work on here in the state of Maryland and in Montgomery County. So in 2018, Preservation Maryland, which is our statewide not-for-profit historic preservation group, led a collaborative team of academics and municipal leaders and others to author the first state context survey for LGBTQ heritage. And our office in Montgomery Planning, our historians, were invited to be readers as part of this project and to contribute content as well. The final context survey was authored by Dr. Susan Ferentinos, who is a nationally recognized expert in gender studies and LGBTQ heritage. So Maryland was only the second state in the country to undertake a statewide context. The first one actually was Kentucky. And I'd recommend anybody who's interested in this topic, take a look at their study. It's really wonderful. And New York City and Los Angeles have also been leaders in this effort nationwide. So then following the release of this context survey in 2018, this looked at what are the themes across the state of Maryland? How do we understand LGBTQ heritage in this state? From the Naval Academy to the political leaders here in the Washington, D.C. metro region, to the city of Baltimore, to industrial sites and towns out in Cumberland and Hagerstown. LGBTQ people are everywhere in our state, and we wanted to understand their stories. So in 2020, our office, we partnered with Preservation Maryland again to apply for a grant to start writing specific histories for specific sites. One of the sites that we researched and authored an inventory form that the state now has is for Susan Silber's house. Her, let me see if I can get it in here. It's on page 11 of your book, too, if you'd like to see. So Susan Silber served as the city attorney for the city of Tacoma Park from 1981 to 2017. She is a retired LGBTQ activist and lawyer who specialized in family and labor law, and her work was critical to the success of equitable treatment for LGBTQ families and workers in Montgomery County and in the state of Maryland. Our office also authored an inventory form for Bruce Williams' house. Bruce Williams was the first openly LGBTQ elected official in the state of Maryland. He was a Tacoma Park City Council member and the mayor of Tacoma Park, and also a retired activist and politician whose career focused on civil rights, social equity, and environmental sustainability. Then as the next step, our office authored a National Register nomination for the Robert Coggin House, located at 4509 Benyon Road in Silver Spring. So Robert Coggin is recognized as one of the founders of the LGBTQ rights movement in Montgomery County. He was one of the founders of the Suburban Maryland Gay Alliance in 1982, and he played an absolutely critical role in securing passage of legislation prohibiting discrimination based on sexual orientation in Montgomery County in 1984. He partnered with our former county executive, Ike Leggett, when Ike Leggett was on the Human Rights Commission. Mr. Leggett spoke at Mr. Coggin's funeral when he passed away, and he spoke very highly of Mr. Coggin and his singular work and his singular vision promoting LGBTQ rights in Montgomery County. So our office recently presented out this National Register nomination. The Maryland Governor's Committee found the house eligible to be listed to the National Register, and this would be the first suburban 20th century resource to be found eligible for LGBTQ history in Maryland. And we're very, very proud and very pleased with this effort. I wanted to point out, too, for all of our commissioners that there are several sites associated with LGBTQ heritage in Prince George's County that are called out in the survey, that are also called out in this book. These are two sites here. One is the University of Maryland Student Union, where the Student Homophile Association was formed here in the 1970s, and the survey in the book talks about the efforts of those student leaders at the University of Maryland to receive equal funding as the other student groups did. And then also this site here in Mount Rainier, associated with an LGBTQ plus Catholic group and Catholic support group. And there are other sites in the history and in the survey as well. So this effort has gotten, some regional attention, some national attention, the attention to the work, having people understand that this work is being undertaken, that people are being seen, that their stories are being recorded and told. This is why we started this project in the first place. There was an article in the American Planning Association's magazine last year talking about national efforts to uncover and honor LGBTQ history in the built environment, featured this program, the work at the state of Maryland, the work in Kentucky, and the work in the National Park Service. The Montgomery History, our County Historical Society, has undertaken their own LGBTQ study effort. The URL is on the bottom of the slide. I encourage people to check it out. They've done some wonderful work about the political history here in Montgomery County. And then also in 2021, interns from Congressman Jamie Raskin's office in Rockville learned about the project, brought it to the congressman's attention. We were able to brief him on this, and he conducted a short YouTube interview with me about the project that is on our website. So his office has also continued to be interested in this effort. So then that brings me, all of that work then brings me to where we are now with this wonderful publication that was created by Preservation Maryland in coordination with our office, with the City of Baltimore, and with the Maryland Historical Trust. So this book is an abridged publication of the larger statewide context. The final database, which if people are interested to go to the Preservation Maryland website and you can see the database, contains information on over 400 sites associated with LGBTQ heritage in each of Maryland's counties. So again, this was a collaborative effort between Montgomery Planning and our preservation partners. M-NCPPC had a booth at the Capitol Pride Fest, downtown Washington, D.C., where the staff were able to distribute hundreds of free copies of this book for people who are interested, and we've distributed it at some of our Montgomery Park sites and to other interested affiliate groups. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And if folks have questions about the booklet, once you have a chance to look through it, any sites, please feel free to get in touch with me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bello. Nice work, really nice work, Director Stern. It's just great to see, and the regional collaboration around this too as well. So, comments, questions from commissioners?
I just want to thank you for the great presentation. I leafed through the book, and it's really well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. This is wonderful, and it just shows the interest and all the hard work that went into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, I don't have a question. I did hear that the Pride Fest booth down in Washington, D.C. was a highlight of the festival, and I think that our employees and staff had more fun than anybody else. I did get a big report about that one, so congratulations to all who participated.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you.
We have a question from our Executive Director, Ms. Chang-Smith.
Not a question. I was actually at the Pride booth for about 4 hours towards the end of the day, and it was nonstop. People were very interested, not just only in our organization, but very much in that report. And we did get a lot of folks who were very pleasantly surprised and said, we wish in our county they did something like this. And they were just really pleased that somebody is thinking about their community and in terms of history and origins. So I just wanted to say that, literally we gave out hundreds of copies. And it was a huge success. I know Robin Brittingham was there from Montgomery Planning. She was there for quite a while, as well as a number of our other staff. And Tanya Stern, our planning director, was there as well. So we were really well supported, and it was a very positive vibe. And we definitely are going to do it again next year.
Wonderful, great to hear.
If I can
Great.
just add one more shout out related to the commission's booth at the Capitol Pride Festival. We also had Brian Crane, who's a part of our historic preservation staff. He's our staff archaeologist, and he's also a member of the commission's diversity council as well.
Great, thank you for that.
Super.
Other questions, comments? Okay, nice work, thank you. We have lots more of these that can be sent around, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we do, as many as we need.
Okay, great, excellent. Looking forward to distributing those far and wide in Prince George's as well. Thank you. Okay, one last update for us. Georgia Avenue Walking Tour, Director Stern. This
Sure.
is yours as well?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Again, Tanya Stern, Acting Planning Director, Montgomery County. I just wanted to give the full commission, and there's a couple of slides for this item as well, if you can pull that up. Just wanted to let the all the commissioners know about.
Give us 1 sec while we work on the
Sure.
technology.
Sure, sure. Great, thank you. If you can go to the next slide. So on May 31st, Governor Wes Moore was in Montgomery County to participate on a walking tour of Georgia Avenue through downtown Wheaton. The tour was organized by Montgomery County Council member Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, who, as some of you may recall, used to be a commissioner on the Montgomery County Planning Board a few years ago. And she organized this tour in coordination with the Montgomery County Planning Department, Montgomery County Department of Transportation, and others to help highlight for Governor Moore pedestrian safety and economic development issues along Georgia Avenue in downtown Wheaton. And so here are some photos that our staff took at that event. And I just wanted to let you all know that, you know, this was a really, really great opportunity to share with the governor what the conditions are on the ground along Georgia Avenue in downtown Wheaton. If you can go to the next slide. Prior to the tour, the walking tour starting, everyone gathered at a restaurant just right up the road on Georgia Avenue, and we had several boards there with information from our Wheaton Downtown study in terms of opportunities for to support economic development. And we also had a board with this information. This is crash map that shows pedestrian series and injuries and fatal crashes along Georgia Avenue and in the downtown Wheaton area, in order to really highlight that pedestrian safety is a critical need in this area. And before the tour kicked off, Governor Moore just gave some brief remarks and pointed to this map, you know, highlighting that obviously this is a really critical issue and it's a very serious issue. And Georgia Avenue, along with University Boulevard and Veers Mill Road, those are all state-owned roads. And so it's very critical to work with the Maryland Department of Transportation and State Highway Administration in order to make improvements to make this area safer for pedestrians. And so in general, again, we walked from just north of University Boulevard and ended just actually very close to where our building is at the Wheaton headquarters. And, you know, Governor Moore made some remarks at the end. It ended at the American Legion facility, which is about a couple of blocks away from here, and was interviewed by the press. And, you know, he was asked about what are some observations, and it was very obvious to him that, you know, again, pedestrian safety is very critical, that there were some drivers and others who, you know, were not respecting the rules of the road to make sure that this area was safe for pedestrians. And also, at the beginning, right before the tour started, he was sort of going around shaking hands with everyone. So, of course, I got in line for that as well and let him know, we provide this information. This is very much an important issue for our department. As you all may know, we have a pedestrian master plan that we just completed the planning board review process and is now starting the county council process. And again, a Wheaton downtown study also has recommendations related to pedestrian safety in this area. And so I just made sure to kind of mention that to him, and he said he really appreciated that. And my observations just from going on the tour and listening to some of his remarks afterwards was that he definitely gets this issue. He gets the importance of planning as well, which I was very heartened to hear. I also have learned that the Montgomery County government, through MCDOT, with whom we coordinate with, all the time, they are preparing a list of asks for the state in terms of finding some resources to help improve this corridor. So, again, just wanted to let you know about the Commission's participation in this very important effort in bringing attention to this area of Montgomery County and, having the opportunity to meet the governor and to get his attention on this important matter.
Thank you for that, and thank you for representing us well and bringing this before the governor. It is a critical issue, and I'm glad you're on. I'm glad you're cooperating with our Department of Transportation as well. It's good to see. Commissioners, any questions around this? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. No more presentation items. Let's turn to officers' reports. If there are any reports to give, these are for information only. Madam Executive Director, anything you want to bring to us?
No, just that, our late evaluations are much fewer than they have been, but just if you want to take a look at them, please feel free to do so. They're attached.
Mr. Secretary Treasurer, no report. And our General Counsel, Ms. Borden, you have something you want to bring to us?
No, I don't. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about the litigation report. We've had we're close to the end of our fiscal year, and we have resolved 22, almost 23 cases, very close to 23 cases this year. So my litigation team has been really working pretty hard. Other than that, just happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Borden. Questions for Ms. Borden? No questions? Thank you. So as we wrap up, we have you may have seen a few new faces here on our side. So the old timers on the Montgomery Commission, Mr. Hedrick and Ms. Peduim, the Prince George's commissioners and them are going to, we have a reception to welcome the newest members of the team. We have Mr. Linden and we have Planning Board Chair Artie Harris. We could not be happier to have both of you on board. This is their first full commission meeting, and we're going to have a reception afterwards just to get to know each other even better. Looking forward to lots of good shared work. Appreciate it. Good to meet you all. Any further business before us, staff? If there's no further business before us, then without objection, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.